You see my head shaking? I promise you it's been shaking like this for the 3 minutes it takes me to set up these videos. Mariners lose 6-1. They fall to 27-25 on the season, and they lose the first of a 3-game set with the Washington Nationals. Let's go over the scoring plays. Mariners get on the board first. J.P. Crawford homers to center to give the Mariners a 1-0 lead. That was off Mackenzie Gore. Don't get used to any scoring plays off Mackenzie Gore. Nationals get on the board in the fourth with a Luis Garcia Jr. homer to left center to score C.J. Abrams and Joey Meneses. That gives them a 3-1 lead. And in the sixth, they extend that lead to 5-1 with a Keibert Ruiz homer to score former Mariner legend Jesse Winker. 5-1 at the end of 6. In the eighth, they add on with a Eddie Rosario homer to right. I want to talk about that play because it's something I've truly never seen before. But 6-1, Mariners get absolutely nothing. Nada after that first inning home run. Positives. It's only one game. There's one positive. J.P. Crawford played a nice game. He gets a couple of hits. He lines out to center field for one of the outs. Does have a strikeout, but it's nice to see him driving the baseball. The only other positives I can think about is Dylan Moore steals a couple of bags, draws a walk, steals 2 bases. And Kirby Snead pitched fine. Gives up a hit and pitching in an extremely low leverage situation, but he looked a lot better than he had his last few outings. So there's your positive. The other positive is, I don't even know if it's positive. It's just a thing. So Austin Voth gives up the homer, and he did strike out too. I've never seen a pitch in my entire life as inside as the one Voth hit that was hit for a homer. This thing should have hit him in the you-know-what. But instead, not only does he keep the ball fair, he hits it out of the park. Just keeping it fair is incredible. If you swing at a pitch like that and you make contact, it's usually just going to get lined into the first base seats, or if you're hitting from the right side, in the third base seats. I have no idea how he did that, but he did it. I'm sure glad it wasn't a high leverage play, because if that would have given the Nationals a lead or something like that, I would be just furious, because calling it lucky may seem rude, but it was a pretty lucky play. I thought actually Voth showed really good stuff in this one, but again, we're darning with faint praise to even kind of mention him in a positive section, because he's been pretty mediocre for the majority of the year, and he gave up a homer. But he did get a couple strikeouts, and again, that homer, I have no idea how Rosario kept the ball fair. Thank you to Simply Seattle. They provide the very best in Seattle sports gear. Awesome stuff for the Mariners, the Seahawks, the Kraken, the Sounders. Just got this hat. I love this hat. I need to fix the brim. That's not on Simply Seattle. That's on me. I just didn't do a great job. Awesome original hoodies like this one that I'm wearing, the City Connect Ken Griffey Jr. one. Isn't that beautiful? Yes. Yes, it is. And you can find all that good stuff and then save 15% off your order by using code MOLLYWOP15, MOLLYWHOP15. Just enter it at checkout. If you don't think you can remember simplyseattle.com and you think you can't remember MOLLYWOP15, don't worry about it. Link in the description. It'll take you right there. Which area do you want me to start with? This is a choose your own adventure of what you want to be the most angry about. And angry, yeah, kind of angry. The Washington Nationals are a bad baseball team that does not give a crap about winning right now. But if you watch this game, you would say, oh, it was the Mariners in rebuild mode. Because they were pathetic tonight. Outside of my son, everyone was bad today. Let's end with Kirby, but offensively, Mitch Garver was awful. Ty France gets one hit, but was awful in the other 3 at bats. Mitch Haniger gets both Mitch Haniger and Cal Raleigh gets hits today, but they don't deserve them. They were just absolute little dribblers that, honestly, one of them at least, the third baseman, probably should have just let go fair. Polanco was awful. Julio was bad, awful. We'll just call it awful. Jonathan Clase not only was awful at the plate, that effort on that homer from Luis Garcia was pretty terrible. A good outfielder should make that play, or at least looks better on it. He tracked the ball. A close source sent me a message after that play and said Jesse Winker would have done a better job on that ball. Won't say who, but it was sent. It was sent. They were just pathetic. And a little bit of credit to Mackenzie Gore. I mean, you saw, and you've seen flashes of it all year, that Mackenzie Gore is going to be an ace someday. 7 innings of 1-run ball, 8 strikeouts. He now has a 3.04 ERA. Just real quick, that trade's going to be fascinating to keep an eye on down the stretch, because you not only have to take the Juan Soto factor, and you can't ignore that he gave them 2 years and he helped them reach the NLCS, which is good. But he was gone a year later. So you're really comparing the Mackenzie Gore and CJ Abrams and James Woods factor against what the Padres got for Soto. That's going to be fascinating to keep a track on, because John King can really pitch. Some other good players in that deal as well. It'll be interesting to keep an eye on. You know why I'm talking about that? Because I don't want to talk about how crappy the Seattle Mariner baseball team has looked over these last 3 games. They've looked awful. All of that goodwill that I had from those first 2 wins against the Yankees, I'm not sure why I couldn't think of that. It's gone. It's gone. See you later. Thank goodness they were able to pull out the miracle on Monday. Thank goodness. This offense was terrible. Terrible today. Did Mackenzie Gore pitch a good game? Sure. Is he the reason why this offense stinks right now? I don't think so. I think an interesting point, by the way, was brought up by Dick Fain, who I like a lot, and I think Dick likes me a lot. He doesn't love Mollywop Monday because he thinks we get too negative, and that's fine. But Dick Fain brought up that the Seattle Mariners, in the 63 innings that they played against the Orioles and the Yankees, had a lead in 4. They were tied in 10. They were losing in 49. So we can add on to that now, right? We'll do some quick math on the run. 72 innings that they've played. They've now led in 5, and they have trailed in 55. Awesome. Incredible that they have 3 wins in those 8 games with that little amount of leading. I'm sorry, it's 7. 7 innings that they've led, 55 that they've trailed, and 10 that they've tied. George Kirby. It's a frustrating thing to talk about, because number one, I don't have long-term concerns with George Kirby. He's a 26-year-old who was one of the better pitchers in baseball in 2023, was dang good in his rookie year in 2022, and has had some really good starts in 2024. This is now 3 out of 4 that he has not done the job. And I'm going to title this video, there's a phrase that people talk about called effectively wild. And it's a very common baseball phrase, and it's also a really good baseball podcast run by a couple of buddies of mine. Well, yeah, no, they like me. I think they like me. But what I think it is more for Kirby, it's not that what George Kirby is right now is ineffectively in control. He's just challenging hitters too much. And I appreciate it. And I respect that he wants to go after hitters. It's hurting you. It's hurting you, man. And I talked about it ad nauseum in that start against Minnesota, and a little bit in that start against Baltimore as well. You've got to start expanding the zone. And no pitcher can expand the zone with more umpires are going to believe in George Kirby. You have to start expanding. You have to test the limits. You can't go middle. The pitch to Luis Garcia, which again, Class A did not make a great effort on that ball, but it was hit hard, was pathetic. It's just a middle pitch. It's hard to give credit to hitters for hitting middle. Luis Garcia is a good player. You gave also a homer up to Keibert Ruiz, who even with that homer and with a couple hits tonight is hitting 171, 207, 270. This isn't good enough. You know, I hate how much pressure is on guys like Kirby and Gilbert and Julio and Big Dumper because they're still young players. I'm not trying to make excuses for them, but that's the truth. The whole fact of the matter is young hit players are going to have ups and downs. Unless they're Mike Trout. They're not Mike Trout. They're not Clayton Kershaw. What they're getting from George Kirby right now, it could be a lot worse. Let's pause while I get a drink. It could be a lot worse. But it's not good enough. It's not good enough. And George Kirby could have pitched one of the best games of his life and probably still comes up short because this offense just stinks. It stinks. I asked on Twitter for some questions because I just don't know what else you say about an effort like tonight. Let's see if I got any. I got quite a few. Appreciate that. By the way, my Twitter handle is at Crawford_MILB. I will never call it X. Never, ever. Please defend condemned services decision to move Julio. How can you take your most talented, most valuable, most explosive, most capable player and place him behind the likes of Crawford, Moore, Garver, and France? Service is a lousy manager with no reason to lead this team. I don't completely agree with him being a lousy manager. In fact, I just disagree with it respectfully, Peter. One of my favorite followers on Twitter. You bring a lot of insights. I just don't think that's quite fair. Having said that, no, I can't defend Julio hitting sixth. Even with the struggles, no. If there were guys that were so clearly that you got to move ahead of him, yeah, for sure. No, not those guys. I think this feels penal, and I think it's unfair that it's penal. You guys can disagree if you want. Dogs Wear Purple asks, with so many hitters underperforming their baseball cards, how much of the blame lies with the coaching staff versus the players not executing? That's a great question. It's got to be some of it, right? It's got to be some of it. It's so hard to say without being in that locker room and hearing what their advice they're being given and what advice they're ignoring and yada, yada, yada. So the players have to be culpable and complicit too, right? But at the same time, the amount of quality hitters that I have seen come to the Seattle Mariners in the Dipoto regime and regimes before that too, of course, that have failed to live up to even the base expectations is pretty palpable. It's got to be a little bit, and you got to consider making some moves. Not only trades, but I think you have to consider, and I hate asking for people to be fired. It is just not in my DNA. As someone who has been fired a couple of times from jobs that he loved, I struggle with it. But this is a results-based business, and the results just aren't good enough. So to answer your question, yes, there has to be some blame to this coaching staff. How much? I can't answer because I'm not in there. Why can't they just consistently score runs? Why do they always make bad pitchers look incredible? What is the reason they strike out so much? I mean, this is answering the same question that we got. And thank you, Jason. I don't know. I will say Mackenzie Gore is not a bad pitcher, but they have made bad pitchers look good at times this year, and it's just pathetic. I know we can't trade for all new players to get the offense better, but is there anyone in the minors that might be able to provide a jolt like Marlowe did last year? Locklear, maybe? Yeah, I think you might be having to look at a Ty Locklear. I am a little lower on the industry than he is, or than some are. I saw that Baseball America made him a top 100 prospect. I'm not there, but, they do a good job. I would give it a look. I would absolutely give it a look because he's gotten on base at a great clip. He's got power. Is there a risk that with righty that he's a DJ Peterson? Yeah, a little bit. I'd like to see him in AAA actually. See how he does there, get him up. But Locklear's pretty much the only offensive player right now who I think could give you a lift. I like Ryan Bliss still. He's just not getting it done right now. He's not doing it enough in order to think that he's going to be an option for you. Chris, this doesn't pertain to this game road trip, but I've heard the batter's eye center field wall will be mentioned a number of times as an issue for hitters. Can they simply not fix this? Yeah. Yeah. It bugs me too. They just apparently don't think it's a bigger deal, but frustrating, but you still got a chance to win this series, and you got to win the next two though. And this is a series that I kind of thought you really should sweep. Tomorrow you've got Logan Gilbert against Trevor Williams. Bad loss. Really bad loss. Not all losses are the same. This was a bad one. Please hit like. Please hit subscribe. We're so close to 1,500. Please help me get there. Really appreciate the support. George, expand the zone, man. Expand the zone.